they are, in the video, manoeuvring in the air. Well, let's take you live now to Yuriy, who is in Kyiv. He's an advisor to the Ukrainian Defence Ministry. Yuriy, it's good to have you on the programme. So the suggestion is that this appears to be the start of the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Is it?
Good afternoon. We've been saying for quite a while now that counteroffensive or offensive, or the next stages of the military operations of the Ukrainian armed forces, will not be announced, and for a good reason, but more importantly, they've never stopped. So it would be a mistake to think that, the front was never idle. The military operations along the front line have been very active, and, some days more intense, some less. For example, you've mentioned in your previous report the city of Bakhmut. So in and around Bakhmut, Ukrainian armed forces have been, during the last couple of weeks, counterattacking and achieving some relative progress. And we see that the terrorists Wagner Group has left, and we understand that we have degraded the Russian army. Our estimate and our understanding is that Russian losses in and around Bakhmut have been 7.5 times higher than our losses. And this was our strategy, to inflict as much losses on the enemy and at the same time to allow Ukrainian army to prepare for the next stages of our offensive, because our goal is unchanged. We need to liberate all of our lands, and we are moving towards that goal little by little, gradually.
You talk about what the response has been. Russia, for its part, the Defence Ministry says that Ukrainians have been trying to break through some Russian defences. They say you did not achieve your tasks. It had no success. And let me put it to you this way then, perhaps, that these are what are described in military circles as probing attacks. You are just trying to size up what opposition is there and what defences Russia has in place, and that will then determine the next steps of this war. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, the so-called shaping of probing operations, like I already said, have been taking place for quite some time now. But one thing we know all by now, in Ukraine as well as beyond Ukraine, that if anyone is interested in understanding what is actually happening in Ukraine on the battlefield, the Ministry of Defense of the terrorist state of Russia is not a source to go to, because they are lying on a daily basis about everything, about their imaginary successes on the battlefield. If we trusted them, Bakhmut would have been under their control already about 50 times. So we are seeing that Russians have now intensified the so-called psyops and disinformation campaigns. They are actually using on different social media, on their Telegram channels, they're using old footage, old images and video footage of destroyed military equipment and prisoners of war, just to discredit the military operations carried out by the Ukrainian armed forces. So we are most confident that we will see more of this again. We warn everybody, follow what the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense and General Staff is saying, because, we stick by the truth. We may not always be very open and vocal about our plans, which is justified by the military necessity, but, we don't concoct reality. We don't make up fakes.
When you talk of psyops, of course, we know that this is an information war as much as it is a military war. I wonder if you could describe to us what the video that we showed just a part of, issued by Ukrainian forces with their fingers to their lips, saying we will not announce this, silence is important. We're looking at it now on our screens. What is the purpose of this video?
Well, the purpose of this video is to relay a very simple message that, plans like silence. And here in Ukraine, where pretty much every second day we are a target of massive missile and drone attacks, we are saying this same message to our own people. We are asking and requesting them not to, for example, make photographs of the sites of the attacks, not to spread these images on social media. And this, of course, is relevant to everybody else, because by now there is some erroneous image or perception of the next stages of the Ukrainian military operations as if it's an offensive, that all Ukrainian tanks and all Ukrainian soldiers will gather in one place this, and then a general will come out with a starting gun, and things will begin to happen. We are saying that, look, whatever happens is never announced. We will report after it happens, and we have to be focused and we have to be quiet about our plans, because the element of surprise is a very important factor of the success on the battlefield.
Yes, and I absolutely understand that. And let me ask you this final question then. We know that a lot of this spring offensive was dependent on things like weather conditions, troop movements, troop training, and the provision of weapons from the West. Is there a suggestion, therefore, that if this has begun, you now have the equipment that you need to launch this counteroffensive?
Number one, we have to understand that this is the most intense warfare since the end of the Second World War. So the rate at which for example, ammunition is used on the battlefield is very high. This is why, not just our Western allies, but our American friends, everybody's now ramping up the production of ammunition, because everybody understands how high is the rate of burn through on the battlefield. But second of all, of course, there have been other factors like weather conditions and our preparedness in terms of how much military assistance we have received. But most importantly, and I would like to stress this, when our military command is making decisions about the next steps, the priority number one is trying to ensure that the lives of our personnel are safe, that we can achieve maximum result on the battlefield while incurring minimum losses, because we value our soldiers. This is the highest priority for us. Unlike the terrorist state Russia, which is using their soldiers as cannon fodder, and they're throwing them to these slaughterhouses without any regard for their lives.
It's really good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us on the programme. That's Yuriy Sak there, joining us live from Kyiv, an advisor to the Ukrainian Defence Ministry.